Gaming Bolt presents 15 improvements we want to see in Persona 5. In this video, we've listed the 15 things we feel Persona 5 needs to improve if it's to do the impossible and topple even the masterpiece that was Persona 4. Better dungeon design. Of course, we'll start off with the most obvious choice. Persona 3 and 4 got a lot of things right. However, the one thing both games failed at miserably was dungeons. Thankfully, everything we've seen of Persona 5 so far seems to indicate that the dungeon design has been improved. Atlus, no matter what, do not give us something like Tartarus again. Choice and consequence. We absolutely loved the social links introduced in Persona 3, and Persona 4 took them to another level. But we still feel like Atlus can get so much more out of them. What we'd like to see in Persona 5 is for the social links to have an actual impact on the progression of the story as well. How characters react, what decisions they make, and how they react to the protagonist. Larger open world. No, calm down, we don't want an absolutely massive overworld like what we've seen in The Witcher 3. However, looking back at how Persona 3 and 4 were structured, we feel like there's definitely potential for a larger explorable world in Persona 5. Even from a narrative point of view, it's set in Tokyo. We just want maybe a handful of new areas. 4 or 5 over the half dozen or so we had in P3 and 4 would do. More to do in general. It's possible to either run out of things to do in Persona 3 and 4, or simply to get bored of the constant dialogue boxes that all the activities entail. And while Persona 4 tried to fix it, it was still a long ways off. Persona 5, however, has the advantage of having a larger budget than its predecessors, and also the advantage of being set in the metropolis of Tokyo. We expect to be able to choose from a multitude of activities in our free time as a high school student. Fix the side quests. Quick question, do you remember any side quests from Persona 3 or 4? No? Do you even remember they had side quests? No? So it's not just me then. Persona side quests in recent years almost always boil down to, go get me this item. Being one of the frontrunners of the JRPG genre, we expect Persona 5 to have at least decent side quests. Busier nightlife. Nighttime sucked in Persona 3. With Polonia Mall being the only available area during nighttime, there was almost nothing to do. Persona 4, or at least Golden, surely made some amendments, but we still feel like Persona 5 would benefit a great deal if it could give us as much to do during nighttime. New fusion mechanics. Fusion is probably one of the most intriguing mechanics in the Persona games. The ability to fuse 2 or more of the several personas we possess to create something entirely new was entertaining. We're not saying there was anything wrong with Persona Fusion in Persona 3 and 4. However, after having seen the same fusion mechanics in the last 2 games, we're hoping Atlus will bring about some changes in Persona 5 to keep it fresh. Darker themes. Most Atlus games, especially the ones in the larger Megami Tensei meta franchise, are known for their exceedingly dark themes and mature undertones. The Persona game that embodies that atmosphere, that maturity, and that darkness better than any other is Persona 3. With Persona 5, it definitely looks like Atlus are going in the direction of Persona 3 once again, and we definitely hope that the highly anticipated RPG can boast the same kind of tension that Persona 3 did. Returning characters. Now, we're not saying that we want Rise or Aegis to be playable characters once again. What we're saying is we'd like a few of our favorite characters from previous entries to at least make guest appearances. Based on their personal story arcs, we can speculate that the likes of Chi, Naoto, Rise, or Yu Narukami, the protagonist of P4 himself, can make appearances in Persona 5. More realistic social links. Social links in Persona 3 were well received. However, there is no denying that the scenarios they portrayed were also quite unrealistic, and their writing was often goofy. Persona 4 made improvements in this aspect, and the character interactions and how they grew during S-Link scenes demonstrated how far writing had come. For Persona 5, we would also like to see social links having an impact on each other. For example, the fact that you could romance several characters in Persona without there being any repercussions felt a tad unrealistic. Refined combat system. There's nothing wrong with the combat in Persona as it is per se. The only issue is that it does get a bit simplistic, especially by the endgame. The Shin Megami Tensei inspired One More system works very well and adds a layer of strategy to the proceedings. There are a lot of improvements that can be made. For instance, only the main character uses multiple personas, while other characters are all stuck with their starting one, barring evolutions. Maybe add the ability to switch personas for everybody. Voiced protagonist. This may seem like a controversial thing to want in a Persona game, given the series' traditional usage of silent protagonists over the years. But we feel like now may be the right time for the popular RPG series to introduce its first ever voiced protagonist. By the looks of it, the protagonist in Persona 5 will indeed be voiced, but only partially so. That is, when he's working under the cover of the night as the Phantom Thief. Fix the broken pacing. Somehow, in spite of how gripping the stories Persona games tell usually are, and how excellently the games are written, the one part of the storytelling they almost always fail to nail is the pacing. Of course, if Persona 5 adds more activities for the players to do, and just gives us more stuff to do in general as we've already suggested, the game might have enough content to sustain a decent pace throughout its expected 50 to 60 hours. Bring back demon recruitment. Remember the demon recruitment mechanic in Persona 2 Innocent Sin and Persona 2 Eternal Punishment? It was an excellent addition to the series, and one that added multiple layers of nuanced complexity to the gameplay. It was surprising to see how much you actually had to think about what you would say to the demons you were facing, and how your conversations between them could actually affect the game. Get it right the first time. Persona 3 FES, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden. All three are excellent reiterations of already masterful games. However, there can be no denying that all of us would have been much happier if Atlus had just gotten everything right in the original releases to begin with, and hadn't then felt the need to improve on them with subsequent re-releases. We're hoping Atlus can capture their vision for Persona 5 with perfection with their very first attempt this time. That's not asking a lot, is it? And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and click that subscribe button. See you soon.